Hold on, YouTube.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
We are now about to witness the truth.
it's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am, of course, your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Tuesday night, September 20th, 2016. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to always start at the top of the show to thank the people that make this possible. But the Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener and viewer support. And I want to thank all of our patrons for everything that you do. You've done so much. And I want to thank my latest patrons, Eric H. and Robert O. Thank you so much for becoming patrons. We can't do it without you. And by becoming a patron, you get access to our bonus show. The bonus show is usually published immediately after our regular show. And that's just our way of saying thanks and letting you get to know Benjamin Dixon and the show and behind the scenes and all of that good stuff. Tonight, I'm going to intentionally allocate some time on the show for good news. So if you have something great happening, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you got a new dog, all right, a new puppy, got a new job, got a new boyfriend, new girlfriend, got two girlfriends, I don't care, whatever your good news is in your world. I want to allocate some time at the end of the show for you to call in and share. And people have been emailing me some of their good news. So some of it I may read. But I have to do that, man, because this is the news will just bring you down. And we make such a large emotional commitment to delivering this content to you that sometimes we need to pause and just remind ourselves that, all this is worth it. So we'll do that. But before we get to good news, we have to report the news. And this is some information coming out of Charlotte. Charlotte police have, according to the Charlotte Observer, and actually I'm going to triangulate two different sources, right? The Charlotte Observer is reporting this incident as being a gunman having been killed by the police, while all of the reports from the ground report this individual as being a person who was simply sitting in his van waiting to pick up his son or his child from school. So there's several different accounts, but according to the Charlotte Observer, a gunman died after he was shot by police in the parking lot of a apartment complex on Tuesday, just this afternoon, a few hours ago. The police, according to the Observer, said that they were searching for someone who had an outstanding warrant at the Village at College Downs complex. The police said that they approached the man. After he got back into the vehicle, the gunman left the vehicle again armed with a firearm and posed an imminent, this is according to the police, deadly threat to the officers, who subsequently fired their weapons, striking the subject. And the police department was the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police. All right, so that's according to the Charlotte Observer. Obviously, they're taking the statement from the police, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police, and they're reporting on that. But according to people on the scene, there's quite a different story, and this is one of the benefits, I guess, or the unfortunate benefits of social media is that we get reports from more than just the news. A young lady, I believe, hang on, let me get her name, Lyric Scott. And I believe Lyric Scott is the sister of the victim. But there's a video on Facebook where they live streamed the reaction of the family finding out that their loved one had been killed. Their father and their brother had been killed. And the young lady on the video says, the police just shot my daddy 4 times for being black. The officers, again, were attempting to serve a warrant, but the person who was shot was not the man they were after. I want you to let that sink in. The person that was shot was not the man that they were after. All right, the man who has been shot and killed, his name has not been released. And after searching the social media pages of the young woman who shared the video, live streamed it, and several other sources, I still can't find the name. So we do not have the name of the victim. I'm sure that will be released. But according to Joe Bruno of WSOC Channel 9 in Charlotte, he indicates that the brother of the man who was shot and killed indicated to him that he was holding a book waiting for his son to be dropped off from school. All right. I'm going to play a small clip of what was happening there. I want you to listen in and watch.
Sits in the shade, reads his book, does his studies, and waits on his kid to get off the bus. He didn't have no gun. He wasn't messing with nobody. All he did, them jump out boys, them undercover detectives, they jumped out their truck. They said, hands up. He got a gun. He got a gun. Pow, 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 pow. That's it.
All right. Apparently, I believe the young woman who was just speaking is the sister of the victim. And she described the same scenario of that Joe Bruno reported of WSOC Channel 9 in Charlotte reported also that the brother of the man reported that he was holding a book waiting for his son to be dropped off from school. Now, add that on top of the fact that the police have already admitted that the person that they shot and killed was not the person that they wanted to issue a warrant to. So this is, I do have some commentary tonight. Last night I didn't have the words, but tonight I do have the words. You have to honestly believe that black people are just lying in wait. Just, you can randomly select a black person and they're packing a gun. And not only are they carrying a gun, but they're going to come out blazing just at the mere sight of the police, right? For you to believe this scenario, that an individual that the police were not looking for just pulled his gun out and became an imminent threat to the police, you have to believe that any random black person that you run up on is a imminent threat and has a gun and is going to go ballistic at the sight of police officers. Because otherwise, how can you account for the unbelievable amount of occasions where police officers don't get the right person? They end up killing the wrong person. Not that they should be killing anyone, but they kill the person that they weren't even looking for. And the story is the same. He had a gun. He pulled the gun. He reached for the gun. He tried to grab my gun. And you have to believe that black people are just rabid. And the problem is you have some racist pieces of crap who honestly believe that in their mind, black people are just violent. In their mind, black people just want to kill police. In their mind, the first reaction a black person is going to have at the sight of police officers is that they're going to pull their gun. Never mind. I mean, think about it. This man was minding his business. This man, even if he was, I don't care what he was doing. If he wasn't waiting on his son, let's say that it comes out and he was waiting on a drug deal. Let's think about the worst, right? He was not sitting there the drug deal would be a really bad example because he would be, kind of anxious. So let's take that off the table. That was a bad example. But he was sitting there waiting on his son. No reason to be afraid. No reason to be just, paranoid. No reason to just see the police and instantly think, oh, I have to have a set it off shootout with the police. I mean, that's what they really need you to believe for these stories to add up. Now, I don't have any other information about this story except the fact that, hundreds of protesters have gathered out in that neighborhood, and it's happening now as we speak. There's a lot of live streams that are occurring. But I just for the life of me can't understand how people can rationally think that this is acceptable for police officers to create the problem. Think about it this way. If the police officers had not run up on this van, this man would be alive. And the reason I can say that is because he wasn't even the person they were looking for. So why did they run up on his van? Why? That's a question somebody needs to answer, and they need to answer with all the quickness possible. Why did they run up on this man's van and create a scenario that ended up with the death of a person who they weren't even looking for? Which takes me to the next story, which is the continuation of last night. The unfortunate story of Terence Crutcher, I believe is the way you pronounce his name. And you'll see his face on the screen now. I want to give just a couple of updates on his case. So there is a claim from one Tulsa newspaper that the police found PCP in his vehicle. I have not found any corroborating sources to back that up. And the only reason I mention it is because this is the first step in smearing. This is how it always happens. It either comes from an unnamed source, or it comes from the police themselves, or it comes from a newspaper. Someone floats something negative about the person who has been killed, and there you go, the smear campaign in the public square. Because whether you know it or not, the public opinion and the potential jury pool, and the grand jury pool, their mindset towards this case matters, right? You can arrest this man all you want, but are they going to actually, is he going to get indicted? Or actually, this is a woman. I'm sorry. This time it was a woman. You can arrest her, but can we get a conviction? And this is how it starts. It starts early on by planting the seeds that the person that was killed, and if you weren't listening or watching last night, Terence Crutcher was a man whose vehicle, his navigator, broke down in the middle of the road, and the police, again, were going somewhere else, not even going to him, responding to another incident, got a call about a broken down vehicle. And instead of coming to assist him with his broken down vehicle, they ended up killing him. And there's plenty of video that we shared last night, and I have another clip that I want to share. But the entire purpose of pointing out this smear campaign that has started is because it's important. Public opinion is important. How the public views the victim is important, because they can muddy up the potential jury pool, whether it's a grand jury pool or an actual jury pool. And this is how you get people off. You remember the eye socket, right? The blown orbital socket of Darren Wilson. Remember they put that out there that that Michael Brown was so vicious and so brutish that he hit Darren Wilson one time and almost blew out his orbital socket. And what they did was they got bloggers and they got deceitful people to spread images of an X-ray that was not his, suggesting that this blown orbital socket was Darren Wilson's. And so the entire nation was obsessed with the blown orbital socket of Darren Wilson. And turns out his eye, all he had was hives. His skin was a little irritated. But they set that narrative in motion so quickly and so pervasively that they didn't even go to trial. The grand jury would not even indict. So now they've started with Terence Crutcher, and they're saying that they found PCP in his vehicle, which I don't believe is accurate for 1 second, because this incident happened on Friday. It hit the national news on Sunday. And you mean to tell me that just now on Tuesday they discovered, or they're just now reporting PCP? No, it's not even about them finding quote unquote PCP in his vehicle. It's about them trying to sully the water right now already in advance. And they're trying to corroborate this video that of the helicopter coverage, and listen to what the police officers who are flying the helicopter are saying.
Mike, I'm gonna hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Time for taser, I think.
Listen closely.
Got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude too, to be on something.
Which way are they facing?
Looks like a bad dude too.
Facing westbound.
That's the part. I'm gonna back it up. I want you to hear that again. Listen closely.
To be on something. That looks like a bad dude too, to be on something.
Could be on something. So, you know, they're already putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And in addition to this coming from the helicopter, right, from whatever, however many feet, I don't know what, how high does a helicopter hover over, however high, he looks down at a random black person and he says that this looks like a bad dude and it looks like he could be on something. And now the reports are coming out that the police officer just got through taking a course in identifying people who are on substance abuse courses and et cetera, et cetera. And she's now saying that she felt like he was on something. Enter in some random newspaper saying that they found PCP, and whether it's true or not, it's absolutely enough to sway a potential pool of jurors, whether it's a grand jury or an actual jury. And this is the game that they play. Now, yesterday, I played the video of the Jean, I forgot her last name that quickly, the spokesperson for the Tulsa Police Department, giving a statement, basically lying. Every other word was a lie, according to the footage. The dash cam footage said that he wasn't complying, said that they told him to put his hands up and he wasn't complying, but there he is with his hands up, gets up against the car. They say he reaches for something, and now everyone is trying to hinge this on whether or not his window was open or whether the window was closed. In reality, can we just start all the way back at the beginning and ask ourselves, why did this police officer approach him with so much fear and so much antipathy that she ended up killing him instead of helping him? His vehicle, even if he was high, even if he was high on something, you know, we have all of this compassion now for people who are strung out on heroin and opioids. And we have all of these programs where we train police officers to identify somebody who's addicted to something and how we can save their life and all of these things. And you mean to tell me that if you thought he was on something, your instinct was to fear him? Think about it. We have two different things happening at the same time. She's going to a scene and she already knows that it is a broken down vehicle call. Okay, so there you go. You're going to a broken down, your guard should already be down, or you should at least be like, okay, I'm going to give somebody a jump. I'm going to push them off the road. Then you see somebody and you think that they're high on something. And your reaction is, let me pull my gun. So they're trying to make it seem that it's everything else except the fact that he was a big black man. Oh, he was on something. No, you take classes on how to approach people who are on drugs. We have all this compassion, all this concern. And so the bottom line to me again is, has anybody given us one reason, one legitimate reason that this officer, this policewoman approached Terrence Crutcher with hostility instead of being there to assist him? So while everybody else is like, oh, you know, his window was down, and if his window was down, he put his hands down and he reached for something. Go all the way back to the damn beginning. Why approach a man or a woman whose vehicle is broken with so much hostility? What triggered her fight or flight reaction? What triggered it? Because if you tell me it's the fact that she thought he was on drugs, then I'm going to tell you, then what about all of the people that we have so much compassion for that are on drugs right now? We have special programs. We even let you get high. We take you places and let you ride out your high, and we let you come down incrementally so that you don't have, such an adverse reaction. We have this compassionate system for people who are high now. Nobody can answer that question because there is no legitimate reason for her to approach this situation with a gun drawn, even if he was high. All right. In a minute, I'm going to be joined by, we're going to shift gears hard. I'm going to take this call. We're going to shift gears, and we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren, but I'm going to be joined by Jeff Waldorf of TYT Nation. Yeah. Anyway, caller, you are live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, man, it's me, Bryce. You hear me?
Hey, Bryce, I can hear you fine, man. How's it going?
Okay. So, sadly, we continue this wave again of police brutality, and it's becoming like the movie Let's Be Cops. It's like we're just going to pick people to be police. We're not going to train them properly, or we're going to staff train them, and then we're just going to let whatever happens, or and in the state and the government, the state officials, the mayors, the governors, they're not doing nothing to change the situation. This is not even like a federal thing that can be fixed, because like you said before, how the rules and things have changed, things have been separated, so there's like boundaries and things. So now it's a situation where if it doesn't change from the state, local level, it's not going to change, because there's no federal. The only federal intervention that can happen is the demilitarization of the police and taking the federal funding away. Other than that, the hands are pretty much tied. And even if they would like to do something, the hands are pretty much tied. So now it's the state-local situation. And the training is bad. Everything is bad racially. And you got Trump. You got so much stuff. Everything is like coming together in the sense of, we hate all minorities, blacks, Jews, Muslims, whatever. We want you out of our country. We want you out of America, and we'll do whatever it takes to do it. And it's just sad.
Yeah, man. It is it's a sad and frustrating situation. And what do you do? And I can't emphasize enough, right? I just want to pull this up again, right? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just getting, somebody just sent me something. Thanks, Nicholas. Here's the situation though, right? People would do anything and everything they possibly can to justify every single shooting that a police officer makes against black people, to the extent that they won't ever stand up for the white people being killed by police officers, because if they stand up for the white people being killed by police officers, they inevitably have to address the black people who are being killed. So they would rather ignore the number of white people being killed by overzealous and over-militarized police officers, just so that they don't have to ever say anything that could corroborate the stories of black people. That's how deep their hatred and their antipathy towards black people goes. It's completely absurd, because you actually have people who could look at this video and look at the fact that this man's vehicle was broken down, and look at the fact that they were going to another scene, and this female police officer came to address a broken down vehicle. They could look at all of those facts. They could look at the fact that his hands were up. They could look at the fact that he was up against his vehicle, and they will say, oh, he dropped his hands and that's why he's dead. I'm a kind person at heart, but part of me wishes that they could experience this, just so they could see the level of injustice, just so they could see. But probably even then, their hatred and their perception of blackness runs so deep that it could happen to one of their own. It could happen to their child. And they probably would never believe the fact that black people have been calling it for a long time. And that if there is such a thing as a police state, it started first in the black community. All right. I've got to call up. Let's shift gears. Let's shift gears and talk about something else. Let's talk about something else because it's crazy, man. It's crazy. All right, I have on the line here my colleague Jeff. Jeff.
Hey,
I got a large feedback. I don't know if there's a way you can. Yeah, my audio is coming through your line very clearly. Let's see. Yeah, there's a huge delay, and I just figured it would work out pretty cleanly. Let's try something here. Okay.
Figures I have tech issues.
How about now? Let's see. Okay, no, we're good. I think we can work with that. Jeff, how's it going, man? Thanks for coming on the show. How's everything in your world and over there at TYT Nation? It was claps.
It's pretty good. I was listening to the show earlier, and boy, I did this story today. It got me riled up because, one of the reasons that it kind of hit me so hard is because I remember back when I was younger and I was not exactly the model citizen, right? So, and I can think of quite a few interactions that I've had with police officers that were completely opposite to what happened to Mr. Crutcher. I once had drove around with no license, suspended license, no insurance. I went into a ditch. I hit a snowbank. It's like when I was a teenager, and cop pulls up, asked me how I was, what was going on. I told him, no problem here, officer. I'm just waiting for a tow. Okay, have a nice day, sir. Gone. Didn't even get out of his car. I walked right up to his window. No problem. And, if I were a black man, I couldn't do that. I'd be arrested or shot and I've had numerous, interactions with police officers just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of them, obviously I got my life together and I was legal the rest of the time, but every interaction with an officer, I broke down, on my way to work before. Cop pulls up. Hey, can I help you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need a ride to work. Well, I can get you to the gas station so you can at least call into work. Sure, that'd be great. Chatted him up while I was in the backseat of the car.
You know what, Jeff? I mean, and that's the thing. Like, my friend Corey Jones, his car broke down on the side of the road in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and instead of a police officer coming to help him, a police officer showed up and shot him, killed him. And it's just even with the story out of Charlotte today, it seems like it's a police officer, multiple police officers killing a man who was sitting in his van reading a book. All indications point to that he was sitting there reading a book and the police weren't even after him, and somehow he ended up dead, man. It's like, people don't believe this happens, and I'm going to use you as a proxy for white people, right? Like, why does it take so much evidence for some white people to understand this and believe this, and then still in the face of all the unbelievable amount of evidence, you still have some that just completely reject this?
Yeah, I don't understand. And I like to frame this in the way of this is an example of white privilege. All my interactions and personal and other people that I know, my friends, all these different interactions are a good example of white privilege. It's not like you're getting special treatment, but way you are, because you're always getting the benefit of the doubt. And that's something that black people don't have. Yeah. And to try to convince somebody who's white and look, who's poor, I'm not exactly the richest person. I was never middle class, right? I had food stamps, the old school kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then in the notebook that you have to tear them out. Yeah.
Exactly. And mom dropping you off to school in a giant beater that had no exhaust, no manifold or anything, like no exhaust pipe, just straight manifold. So it was, the whole school could hear you roll up, right? And try to convince somebody like that no, there are black people that actually have it worse than you. And they get targeted and they get harassed. No way. I'm barely making it. I'm eating, ketchup sandwiches. What are you talking about? Yeah, black people, there are some that have it worse. So it's really, really hard to convince people. And I think in order to try to get through to people, you got to talk to them. You got to have good conversations. And there are white people that are very defensive about being white. And I never quite understood it. I'm like one of the whitest people around. Like, I got people calling me fucking powder, okay? I am white. It's you can't like explain certain things to them in certain ways. You've got to, I guess, not you, but like I think it falls to other white people to explain that to other white people. Yeah. Because it shouldn't be your responsibility to explain these things.
Yeah, and that's the part that gets old real quick, man. It gets you're absolutely right. I'm not explaining it to anybody anymore. Let's shift gears real quick. Let's talk about this election because this is your first time. Actually, you called in last week, but this is your first time as being an actual guest on the show. So we're glad to have you. We've been enjoying your coverage of the election so far this year, and you're having some magnificent growth over there at TYT Nation. So congratulations on all that. But I want to ask you, did you get a chance to see Elizabeth Warren today?
She crushed it.
She crushed it. Yeah.
She absolutely crushed it. Yeah. That is something that you needed to see.
Yeah, I'm going to play a clip of it for the audience. I'm going to play a clip of it, and then I want to get your reaction, and then I want you to tell me if I'm being just being an asshole because she did kill it, but I still just don't want to hear from her. But hang on, let me play this clip real quick for the audience. This is Elizabeth Warren, and she's going up against the CEO of Wells Fargo, and this is her doing what we've come to love. And this is exactly addressing the same issue that we talked about last week with the 5,300 employees, low-level employees that were fired, but you had the executive level executives getting off with bonuses. One bonus was $124 million. And this is Elizabeth Warren's response. Listen in.
We've been through this, Mr. Stump. I asked you a very simple question. Do you know how much the value of your stock went up while this scam was going on?
It's all of my compensation is in our public
filing. Do you know how much it was?
It's all in the public filing.
Oh, you're right. It is all in the public records because I looked it up. While this scam was going on, you personally held an average of 6.75 million shares of Wells stock. The share price during this time period went up by about $30, which comes out to more than $200 million in gains, all for you personally. And thanks in part to those cross-sell numbers that you talked about on every one of those calls. Here's what really gets me about this,
Here
Mr.
she comes.
Stump. If one of your tellers took a handful of $20 bills out of the cash drawer, they'd probably be looking at criminal charges for theft. They could end up in prison. But you squeezed your employees to the breaking point so they would cheat customers and you could drive up the value of your stock and put hundreds of millions of dollars in your own pocket. And when it all blew up, you kept your job, you kept your multi-million-dollar bonuses, and you went on television to blame thousands of $12 an hour employees who were just trying to meet cross-sell quotas that made you rich. This is about accountability. You should resign. You should give back the money that you took while this scam was going on, and you should be criminally investigated by both the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Wow. Elizabeth Warren, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we've come to love with Elizabeth Warren, Jeff. I mean, that's what I love to hear from her. But You know, she was, I don't know. Tell me what you thought about it. And do you actually want to even hear from her anymore?
You know, this is Elizabeth Warren being Elizabeth Warren. This is who she's been. This is who she will be. And look, you know, I know there are a lot of progressives that are mad. I was mad at her for a while. Okay. But she continues to do what she's always done. Now, I did a video a while back when she decided not to endorse Bernie Sanders in Massachusetts or for the primary. And I was, as I said, I was angry, but I looked at it and I looked at, you know, the history of Hillary Clinton and what Elizabeth Warren has been doing, you know, a lot of her speeches that she's been giving and grilling people, you know, that are doing wrong. And I looked at it and I said there's got to be a tactical reason. There's got to be a reason that Elizabeth Warren didn't throw in behind Bernie, because they're the same when it comes to policy. She's the natural person to endorse or to have even ran with Bernie. Now, there was also a reason, if you can remember back when we were urging her to run for president.
Right.
There's another reason, right? It's tactical. Like, she's trying to save her job. Do you remember that Politico piece called Hillary's Hit List?
Yeah. Yep.
It's Clinton writing down all the people that have helped her and that have fucked her over, right? And look, man, if you fuck over Hillary Clinton, you're in for some hurt.
Yeah,
right?
Here's but my thing about it though is that, you know, what's the point of having all the courage in the world against, you know, in these settings, right? Okay, so let me start here. I agree with you probably 95%, right? I mean, I'm on the same side with you. I don't think that we should hold something against anybody for the long run because we disagree with them on one thing. I think that would be extremely childish of us. However, I do get a little frustrated when I see politicians grandstanding, and then when there actually is a moment when we can make something change, they sit out on it. And that's what frustrates me. Like, this voice, this fire, you know, make an enemy. If you're afraid of making an enemy out of Hillary Clinton, then you're not really ready to change the system. So then it makes me less likely to even want to hear from you when you're grandstanding about changing the system, when you have the opportunity to actually change the system. I agree with everything she said today, but to me, it's just grandstanding. Tell me where I'm wrong, Jeff.
I don't know if you're wrong. You're especially not wrong to be mad. Okay, we're all angry. All right, we're all upset. And look, this is politicians playing politics, right? That's what they do. They're politicians. Even Bernie Sanders, he is a politician.
Yeah,
he endorsed Hillary Clinton, right? So you know, to a lot of progressives, he gave up the fight. So it kind of matters where you draw the line. Is Bernie Sanders also a traitor to the progressive movement, or is it just Elizabeth Warren? Right,
just Elizabeth.
We got to figure out where
just Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, I don't agree with that. Even though
joking.
I do agree with
I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't think she's an enemy to. I mean, I don't think she's a traitor to the progressive movement. I think she just didn't have the backbone to go up against Hillary Clinton.
And that I completely agree with you on, because I think it was for political reasons. I think it's chairmanships. I think it's stuff behind the scenes that we don't see. You know, when you walk through the halls of power, you know, you have to be careful whom you cross if you want to get your progressive priorities. That's why I did defend Elizabeth Warren, even though I do completely agree with you that it was cowardly, and it's not the way to actually move forward in a progressive movement. But I understand, right? I get it. It's politics, and they all have to play that game. Bernie Sanders, you know, he plays the game, right? He's the amendment king. That's why he reaches across the aisle. That's why he makes deals, right? That's why he, you know, gave up the campaign to go and do the progressive platform. I know a lot of you guys who are watching, you guys don't believe that platform is going to be, you know, used at all. Look, I'm skeptical too. I think Hillary is more than likely to make an about face to the right wing.
Yep.
Right. And as soon as he wins this election, but
I mean,
politics is politics.
She's already doing that, right? So, she's not even waiting for the end of the election. She's doing it dead smack in the middle of the election. And even with the most recent endorsements that she's getting. Go ahead.
Right. And that's only going to hurt her, too, because she's supposed to be making this big push towards millennials. Well, what's the thing that's going to attract those millennials? Well, why don't you, for one, stop taking money from large corporations and banks?
Right.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, actually do something. Stop talking about, oh, I'm going to, appoint justices to overturn Citizens United, blah, 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 right? No. Stop taking the corporate money.
Yeah.
Stop it now. Stop.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's the one thing that's going to get us progressives excited. As soon as we see that she's turned off the money spigot, we'll go, maybe there's something there. I know there's still going to be a lot of distrust.
Yeah.
But that's a start, man. That's a start. And actually, I just saw this article recently, today, right? She stopped talking about climate change as soon as Bernie Sanders dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Who cares more about the climate than millennials? We're going to have to live in this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It drives me insane. It drives me crazy.
It does, and it was funny. I was watching. I even see a. Well, actually, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back because I don't even like talking about the election anymore, just because it's I don't care, to be honest with you. It's a living meme. Go ahead.
I've got a special clip for this.
It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
Exactly.
That's our election.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Let's take a step back and tell us more about TYT Nation. Tell us more about your show and what's going on in your world.
Well, I'm not really sure, what else to tell. I mean, we're on Monday through Thursday. We do a live show as well. It's on live radio. Like, I haven't quite figured out the intricacies of live YouTube yet, playing clips and whatnot. By the way, Ben, you got an awesome setup.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm envious.
Hey, I was actually admiring. Okay, guys, we're about to start, admiring each other live on air. But I was admiring the hell out of your microphone quality. What kind of microphone do you use?
I'm actually using a Shure AT2020. But you've got the RE20. That is the gold standard, dude. Yeah. This was like $80.
Yeah, but your
this is cheap from Amazon.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a Shure microphone, man. I mean, Shure is amazing, right? I mean, Shure is great, but you got some processors on there that sound really rich. But I'm sorry, guys. We could have done this offline. But anyway, this is what two producers and two show hosts do when they haven't had a chance to talk offline. But so you're live Monday through Thursday. What time are you live?
I'm live at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's actually. Like, I do YouTube videos for TYT Nation, my channel, part of the TYT network, obviously. I also partnered up with FYI Nation as well.
Okay.
And that's where I do my live show. So FYINation.com/listen. That's where you can catch me Monday through Thursday. I'm actually working on getting a Friday show, but I'm doing a patron drive. And I know you're, about Patreon.
Yeah.
It's the thing we got to go to, man.
Yeah, we absolutely, man, especially with the changes that have come from YouTube down the pipe. But listen, I definitely want to connect with you, man. I can give you the ropes on getting that simulcast with YouTube kind of seamless, so we can do that. But listen, man, thanks for coming on the show. There's so many other things that I've got to cover tonight that are not going to be as pleasant as any of the other things that I've talked about. But I've always wanted to have you on the show, and I admire your work. I like what you're doing over there. So just tell everybody. I'm 100% sure that everyone who watches me already knows where to find you, but it's just customary on my show. Would you tell everyone how to get up with you and where they could find your work?
Well, you can, I got a Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/TYT Nation, like my page. I'm putting up all my content there, and, I'm looking to do some more stuff. Also, Twitter @JeffsPolitics or @TYT Nation. So that's pretty much where you can. And I also have a website that I don't update, but I'm going to plug it anyway, tytnation.net.
That's it. You and me both. Hey, Jeff, man, thanks so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to being on your show sometime soon.
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Hey, take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so 857-600-0518 if you want to join the rest of the conversation. I want to cover a couple of other pieces of news. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Elizabeth Warren, it is what it is. I can't say I disagree with anything she said today. So therefore, it's probably not best for me to be petty and say I just don't want to hear from her. But I just don't want to hear from her. I don't because I don't know. It's like you really know the character of a person when they stand up in a real fight. Something that's going to cost them something that puts them at risk. And she, these grandstanding moments, even though she's 100% right, this is still a grandstanding moment that is no skin off of her back. It actually helps her and makes her look great. The real fight, there was only one. This is what it is. There was only one real fight for Elizabeth Warren as a progressive, and that was the fight against Hillary Clinton. And she chose not to fight that. And, to each his own. I don't want, everybody's not willing to fall on their sword. Everybody's not going to be as crazy as Bernie Sanders was. I get it. Hey, and maybe she, she feels like she can do more with her chairmanships and, all that other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, there was only one real fight for Elizabeth Warren, and that was the fight against Hillary Clinton that she chose not to take. All right, let's take this caller, 857-600-0518. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Benjamin, this is Steve over in Washington. My only comment is about Elizabeth Warren, and I think it was on your show a couple of weeks ago or months ago. You had talked about how important it was for progressives to have power to be able to make the change, to be in positions of power to be able to make change.
Yep.
And I think Elizabeth Warren, I'm obviously just guessing at this, but I think she understands that and wasn't willing to fall on the sword, knowing that she would lose a really important position to be able to even have the platform to talk about those things on a national level. And that's why I think, even though I was disappointed in her during the primary, I think I understand why, because it's very hard to get a progressive into a position of power.
But doesn't that
at that kind of level? So
but doesn't that?
That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, and I agree with you. Listen. I already started off the conversation saying I'm being petty about it. I'm probably just being an asshole about it. But doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it make you want to dig in and fight more to realize that it's political suicide to challenge or to just endorse somebody else, right? I get it. She didn't want to run against Hillary Clinton. I got it. But, she was afraid to endorse Bernie Sanders, right? And it should make us upset that the vindictiveness of the Clinton machine is such that people won't even, you can't even endorse. I mean, look what they're doing to Nina Turner, right? They're blackballing Nina Turner. And to me, that should make us want to double down. I guess I'm just a different person. If you threaten me, I'm not going to back down. If you threaten me, I'm going to double down and I'm coming for you with everything I have. But maybe that's why I'm not in politics now. Thanks for the call, man. You're absolutely right. I agree with you.
All right, thank you.
All right. But I don't know. If somebody threatens me, it's not in me to not step up and take the challenge. All right. Another piece of news that I have to cover that is not pleasant is Terrell Thomas. And I believe it's Terrell, but it may be pronounced Terrell. Terrell Thomas of who was in, and actually put a picture on the screen of him. So Terrell Thomas was a 38-year-old man found dead in a Milwaukee County jail cell on April 24th, so a few months ago. This was 9 days after he had been arrested connected to a shooting. Mr. Thomas he died of dehydration. And the other inmates said that they could hear him begging for water. And it was so bad that one of the inmates told a guard that if something happens to Mr. Thomas, to Terrell Thomas, that it's on you, that it's on the sheriff deputies. Now, just to be sure, so you can understand the full picture, David Clark, Sheriff David A. Clark, the loudmouth conservative sheriff of Milwaukee County, the one who has been so publicized and beloved by Republicans. He spoke at the Republican National Convention. He is the most outspoken tool for white supremacy against Black Lives Matter. He is King Kong of buffoonery, coonery and buffoonery. This is his sheriff's department. This is his direct jurisdiction. He was denied, Terrell Thomas was denied water for nearly 9 days, and he subsequently died. And it's just coming out yesterday that the coroners have finally admitted that this was homicide, and not to mistake homicide with murder or homicide with something that is going to be lead to a charge. But homicide in this context simply means that Mr. Thomas's death was the result of someone else's actions. So Clark has come out with a statement, and I'll put the statement on the screen just so we can see it here. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office said, quote, earlier today, the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office released via Twitter a finding regarding Milwaukee County Sheriff inmate Terrell Thomas, who died in the Milwaukee County Jail in April. The MCSO is not conducting this death investigation, has not received any updated findings directly from either the medical examiner, the MPD, or the DA's office, and is withholding employee internal investigations and will not be commenting on this matter until the completion of all investigations and review processes and any resultant civil litigation. No. Civil litigation, no. Someone needs criminal charges pressed against them. And with any other scenario, it is the culture that is fostered by leadership. And this is where I on the last story with Elizabeth Warren against the CEO of Wells Fargo, right? It is always the underlings that pay the price. But the underlings don't do anything that is not fostered in the culture that is set by leadership. And I said all of that to say that Sheriff Clark created the environment and fostered that culture such that a man can be deprived of water for 9 days and die of profound dehydration. This is not just murder. This is torture. And something this brash and this bold does not get by leadership. And it's funny, everybody wants to be a leader and everybody wants to take the credit when things are good. And everyone wants to be, the buck stops with me until something goes wrong. So Sheriff Clark, where is your profound leadership skills? Where is your sense of self-responsibility, of responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions? Where is your sense of standing up and being responsible for the culture that you fostered that led to the dehydration death, the torturous death of Terrell Thomas? My money is on him being a chicken shit coward, finding someone to lay this at their feet so that he can continue to go and rack up $150,000 a year in speaking fees on behalf of conservatives. Yeah, I told you, it's a lucrative job to be the voice of white supremacy, to be the black face on top of white supremacy. Based on his most recent disclosure form, he received $150,000 in speaking fees and travel reimbursements and gifts in 2015 alone. So maybe he was just an absentee sheriff. Maybe he didn't foster this culture, but he was so busy running around the country telling black people how bad they are and telling white people how good they are and they don't have to worry about these niggas because he got these niggas under control. Maybe he was just so busy doing that, making $150,000 a year, that he neglected the culture there, which ultimately led to the dehydration, the profound dehydration of Terrell Thomas. Yeah, I done got this one got me so mad I done dropped the N-word and didn't even think twice about it. But people like Sheriff Clark are one of the few types of people that would make me want to just bitch slap him the second I saw him, if it weren't for the fact that I probably can crush him even better intellectually. Even better. that is. 857-600-0518. Again, I'm going to open up the lines in a minute. Oh, it's 8:54. How the hell did it get this late already? Let's see. Is there anything else I'm going to cover that's like critical? So, yeah, actually, I did want to talk about this really briefly. Former president and former vice president George H.W. Bush is, according to sources close to the Bush family, is going to be voting for Hillary Clinton. This is not a formal endorsement. According to the family, George H.W. Bush is a private citizen, so therefore his vote is also going to be private. But these comments, according to CNN, these comments came during an event for an organization. It's a bipartisan organization called Points of Light Foundation. Mr. Bush, George H.W. Bush, was speaking to the daughter of Robert Kennedy, right? Former Attorney General, assassinated in 1968, Robert Kennedy, and let her know that he would be voting for Hillary Clinton. Now, this is second, third, fourth hand information, but no one from the Bush family has come out to deny it, and they simply say that this is a private decision because he's a private citizen. This is fascinating, right? On one hand, it's George is a Bush, right? But George H.W. Bush is a little bit different than his son. George H.W. Bush represents that old vanguard of conservatism. He's even less he's less of a trickle-down Republican than Ronald Reagan. You remember he considered Ronald Reagan's entire economic program paradigm to be voodoo economics, even though he served as the vice president for Ronald Reagan. But he's more of a Rockefeller-styled, old-school Republican. And it's amazing that Donald Trump has fractured the conservative movement so much that people, high-level officials, former presidents are now running over to Hillary Clinton. I don't say this as a badge of honor for Hillary Clinton, right? Even though HW is not W, right? I think anyone with the historical lens can clearly understand that HW is not W. HW had the chance to go to Baghdad. He didn't take it. W took it. Right. There's a lot of difference between the two of them. But even despite that, this is still not a badge of honor for Hillary Clinton. This is more of a realization that Donald Trump is doing a great job at destroying the conservative movement. He is doing a phenomenal job. He's doing a better job than any of the hit pieces that people put out about Senator Warren eviscerates the conservative bank president. Right. Donald Trump has done in 9 months or over a year now what Democrats could never have done because I don't think they wanted to do it. But this is just another indication that Donald Trump represents the end of the conservative movement. And so much as he actually becomes president, right? I think if he loses, then there may be a repudiation of his style of conservatism, quote unquote conservatism, and then there will be a walking back of the Donald Trump style conservatism all the way back to more of a HW style of conservatism. But if he wins, that's the death of the modern conservative movement. That's it. That Goldwater's experiment is done, dead on arrival. It's completely, utterly dead. But what's scary is what would form afterwards. Like, what would it be after Donald Trump? That's it's good to say farewell to the Goldwater era and the Ronald Reagan era of conservatism. Yes, I'll be glad to say auf Wiedersehen to that. But what Donald Trump represents the future of conservatism as being, that's a scary notion. But we'll see. We'll see how many more conservatives actually line up to support Hillary Clinton. I've got so many other things that I want to cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover them in the bonus show. The bonus show, I'm going to talk about the 5-second rule. So researchers actually researched the 5-second rule. You know, when you drop a piece of food on the ground you have 5 seconds to pick it up and blow it off and eat it. Well, they did some research on that, and the evidence might shock you. That's my clickbait title. And I'm going to do it in the bonus show. So if you want to join the bonus show, go over to patreon.com/the BPD show and become a patron. And join us for the bonus show. And since we're running so late, we're going to have to do good news another time. I think that's all I've got for you folks. See you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
It's Ben Dixon!
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.